Hi, I'm Tati. Let's solve the mystery of the box in the woods. So this is part 3 in this Solve the Mystery series for The Box in the Woods by Maureen Johnson, and I will leave the first 2 videos linked in the description. So in this video we will be reading the last 10 chapters of The Box in the Woods and hopefully finally be solving the mystery. So I'm going to start reading at chapter 21 and I will be back when I have some sleuthy thoughts to share. Alright, so I'm back. I finished reading chapters 21, 22, and 23, and I have lots of thoughts, mostly for chapter 21. So in chapter 21, we see that Sean is not very open to talking about what happened. However, that doesn't necessarily make him suspicious. And again, I really don't want it to be Patty. I really like Patty as a character. She is the final girl. So according to Stevie's line of thinking, it had to have been someone who knew that Greg and Patty had been grounded, per se. And technically, all of the counselors would have known about it because Greg was sent home, and so they all know that he wasn't at camp. But if you don't take that into account, Susan and Magda did know about it. I mean, Susan did say that Todd was the shame of the town. I just don't know if that was enough to get him killed by Susan, or by Susan and Sean and Paul working together. I have thought before that it's weird that Sean and Paul are each other's alibis, and I could maybe see Susan being a part of it somehow, but I don't know if I could see all 3 of them still living in town after having done that. Now, if Greg's death was not actually an accident, which I don't think it was because it's very coincidental, that opens up a whole new theory that someone could have been targeting them because of the drugs. Then they would have been after both Eric and Greg, and maybe they didn't know Greg wouldn't be there that night and went after him separately after the fact. Then we have chapter 22, which I didn't really pick up anything about the case from. We did get a lot of Stevie and David, which I love, but it's not what this video is about. And then in chapter 23, what did Stevie get on her shirt at Arrowhead Point? Because that has to be a clue. And we are making headway into Allison's case because we find out that Allison was killed because of the diary, which means that 1, she was close to getting her hands on it, 2, there was something in it worth killing over, and 3, that Sabrina was probably the killer's target all along. And the art supply request and the turtles did come back as clues. So now I'm going to be reading from chapter 24 to chapter 26. So 3 more chapters and then I will be back. Hopefully we figure out what's going on by then. Alright, so I have read up to chapter 26, and I have still no idea who's in it. Here is what I know. So the cookie jar with the diary in it was sealed shut, which means Allison couldn't get it open, and she definitely would not have wanted to smash it open like Stevie did. So my theory is that she called someone who could possibly help her get it open, and whoever that was killed her. Now, whoever broke into the house after Stevie and Nate were probably after the same thing that Stevie and Nate found. And also, why would they take their bikes? Unless it was so that they couldn't get away and they are now going to be chased through the woods. Which is super creepy and exactly what happens. And they're even shot at, which I was not expecting at all. And then for chapter 25, they are chase through the woods and they end up having to dive off of Arrowhead Point into the lake. But what I'm wondering at this point is, one, why is the killer using a gun when they've used a knife in the past? And two, how damaged is the diary going to be from being in the water? And then the diary is left at the bottom of the lake, so I don't know if they're going to be able to find it again. And I have absolutely no idea what light flash form means or what its connection to the case is at all. And then chapter 26, when Stevie has obviously figured everything out and I still don't have a clue. I am really interested to finally find out what has stained Stevie's shirt. I have been waiting for that forever, it feels like. And I really love the idea that they're going to make a nutshell of the case. And so I'm going to read the last 4 chapters of this book, and then I'll be back to wrap up the mystery of the box in the woods that I, so far, have not been able to solve. Alright, so I finished the book and I now know everything, but I'm going to start where I left off. So chapter 27. So in chapter 27, Stevie says that the key people are Paul, Sean, Susan, and Patty. And so I did wonder if that meant that one of them was the guilty one, because they're the key people, so one of them has to be the one who did it. But in chapter 27, I still had no clue which one of them it was. And we found out that I was sort of right about the Stairway to Heaven thing. It was sort of a lie. It was too detailed of a detail for their story, because their story was not altogether true. However, Sean, Paul, and Susan were all innocent. They had nothing to do with the murders, so that was a red herring. And then chapter 28, we have Stevie reading the diary, and at this point, we know the diary was at the bottom of the lake. So my thought process is, what is Stevie reading? Because it can't be the diary. And at first, we hear about Sabrina wanting to break up with Sean and her parents and her sister not really wanting her to. And then we find out that it is so much bigger than at least I thought it was. And why Patty's dad didn't like having his picture taken, because he was basically in hiding. They're talking about war, prison, someone who was never found. And so we find out that Patty's dad definitely killed that guy in his own pool. And it becomes so obvious from that point on, because then all it takes is for Patty's dad to find out that his daughter's friends know, and then her whole friend group dies except for his daughter. Just so obvious, and I completely missed it because I brushed him off in the beginning. But if that theory is true, then who killed Allison now? Because Patty's dad has died at this point. So somebody else killed Allison, and somebody chased them through the woods and shot at them. And so the prime suspect at this point is Patty. And we find out it even circles back to the books that Sabrina had rented from the library, which were mentioned multiple times, but I never connected it. There were so many little clues leading to this conclusion. And then we find out that Sabrina told Patty about what she saw, and then Patty went home, and I'm guessing told her father or asked him about what Sabrina saw, and then that's how her father found out that Sabrina knew everything. Or, you know, it was their conversation outside of the library when he saw the books she had rented. So in chapter 9, we find out that Patty's dad was a Nazi living under the identity of someone he had killed. And we find out that it was Patty all along. And I really should have known it was Patty, but Patty was so nice, and she was the final girl, the only one to survive. And I think I even said this when we first met her at the beginning, because we met Patty as the first sort of suspect in the present day. And it's always in a mystery, in a TV mystery, in a book mystery. A lot of the times it's the first suspect that you meet is the one who did it. And it turns out that I was right about Greg's death being connected to everything. but I never imagined Patty had such a large role in all of it. And finally, we find out how Allison died, which is what I've been waiting to find out, especially what had stained Stevie's t-shirt, which was food dye. And if I had put that together, it would have been so obvious that it was Patty. But I never would have figured out that Allison slipped on ice that had been dyed with food coloring. And Stevie is such a genius because it was actually the diary. She saved the diary and had enough sense after almost dying to pretend that she hadn't saved the diary. And that is the case solved. Obviously, chapter 30 is just a nice end for our characters. This book was so good. It kept me guessing the whole time, as you saw. And I do wonder if part of the reason the twist was so good and got me was because I liked Patty so much as a character. And I think I even said it in maybe both videos that came before this one, that she was a really nice character and that I didn't want her to be the killer. In chapter 5, we meet Patty. I'm a little surprised that she's the first one we're meeting in present day. It makes me wonder if I dismissed her too quickly from the flashbacks. Patty seems super nice. I'm really hoping that she turns out to have nothing to do with anything. And then in chapter 8, we got to learn a lot about Patty's dad. And especially after hearing Patty's story, I really do feel like she's innocent. I guess that is the mystery of the box in the woods solved. Not by me, maybe by you, definitely by Stevie. And though I was absolutely not able to solve it, I did have a blast reading it. Let me know in the comments if you figured out the mystery, what your theories were, and what you thought of the book overall. I love mystery books and I'm always reading them, so if you like this video, give it a like and subscribe to see more. Also, let me know in the comments which mystery book I should pick up next. Thanks for watching. Bye. Let's start that over. I don't know if I'm gonna use those transitions.